Sometimes when people have poor gut health, it's because they've got a Candida overgrowth or a yeast infection. So we all have a certain amount of Candida or yeast in our guts. The problem arises when you have too much Candida or too much yeast in your stomach. And what happens is then that can contribute to leaky gut syndrome. And often an overgrowth in yeast or Candida is because people have had too many sugary foods, too much alcohol, too much breads, just in general, far too many carbohydrates. So then the yeast or Candida, it loves those sort of foods. And that's when people will get lots of sugar cravings or lots of bread cravings, or even cravings for wine, that when you just first get home, it's like, oh God, please, I have to have a wine, you know. That's often just the Candida driving it, okay? You actually don't need the wine, but it wants the yeast, it wants the sugar. And Candida, it's a funny bacteria. I always say that Candida is a bacteria that has a mind of its own, okay? It loves to be fed and it tells your body, just feed me. And so that's when you eat sugary foods and you eat yeasty foods and you eat carbohydrate foods, you're really feeding that Candida in your gut. And with Candida, it's 80% diet, okay? So I often ask people to go on a low Candida diet, and we will also eat with herbs and probiotics and supplements and things like that, because the reality is you can never get rid of all of that yeast, but you can lower the levels so that you feel fantastic again. And that's the key. You need to keep the levels low, because when the levels of a Candida overgrowth, you are always tired. You will get muscle pain, you will get bloating, you will have gut aches. All of the symptoms of a food intolerance are very, very similar to a Candida infection as well. And it's often testing then comes into it to establish, do we really have a food intolerance here, or do we just have a Candida overgrowth? And Candida is fungal, so anything that is a fungus will feed it. So things like mushrooms will feed it. Things like mold on cheese will feed it. Okay, so we need to be very, very careful when we've got a Candida or fungal overgrowth. And another sign or symptom that you have a gut Candida problem for women, it's when they get thrush, both vaginally and in the mouth, and men that get that jock itch in that genital area, or sometimes people will get a Candida rash on their feet. Okay, so their feet will become incredibly red and incredibly itchy, or sometimes on their palms, people start to itch. And another classic sign of a Candida infection is when your skin starts to peel. So if all of a sudden your skin starts to peel and you start to get a little bit itchy, it can just be a yeast overgrowth and you're eating far too many sugary foods. Now, sometimes people can bring it under control by themselves, but sometimes it just gets all too much and they don't know what to do. That's when we say, look, let's test, let's give you some herbs, let's get you back on the straight and narrow, and we lower those levels. And two, it's about sometimes we all know what we need to eat, because we do. Sometimes it's about having that support of someone like myself as their naturopath to say, look, please stick to these dietary things. Come back in a month's time and let's see how you're feeling. You know, sometimes you just need the support of somebody else to help you through it.